pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, could you do roll call, please?
President Bucher,
Here.
Trustee Barheit,
Here.
Trustee Brooks,
Here.
Trustee Polly,
Here.
Trustee Faber,
Here.
Trustee Hopkins,
Here.
and Trustee Gant.
Here.
Thank you.
Did we meet open meeting compliance?
The agenda was posted online and here at Village Hall on Thursday, October 16th.
Trustees, do I have approval of the agenda sequence?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we will go into public comments. Please address the board. There will be no back and forth discussions and there is a 3-minute time limit. Kirill Ostapenko, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Kirill Stepanko. I live at 22405 83rd Street. I have 3 quick questions concerning the meeting I attended last week, mainly about how the village handles quotes for repairs and purchases. I'd like to find out if do you typically compare multiple bids or try to negotiate a price to make sure we're getting the best value as taxpayers for road construction, auto repair, things like that. I noticed last meeting there was a discussion about spending $10,000 to replace or repair transmission in a village-owned Ford F-250. I was wondering if you could specify who is doing that work. And there was also mention about a broken LED sign that was quoted to replace for $17,000. I believe you mentioned that it was going to be replaced with a less expensive sign. My question is that existing sign repairable or not?
Okay, thank you. Mia Souders, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Mia Souders, 7102 284th Avenue, Salem. Over the past 2 years, I've copied the board on the formal complaints I filed regarding permit and ordinance violations for a garage being built on the property adjacent to ours. 3 minutes is not nearly enough time to cover all the concerns, and with the permitting process, such as inadequate permit review, issuing a permit for a prohibited structure, not enforcing permit requirements, allowing work to continue while permit conditions have not been met, and lack of building inspections. But tonight I want to focus on 2 issues: a prohibited home business and drainage violations. The homeowner is in the process of building a 3rd garage on their property. The village is aware that the 2,200 square foot 2-story garage being built in their front yard will be used for their construction business. In fact, the architectural plans themselves, which were submitted with the permit application, include a rendering of their 45-foot construction trailer as it would fit inside the garage, and includes a bay door facing the street, which is clearly intended for loading and unloading construction machinery and equipment. Additionally, the homeowner has a long history of improperly storing construction machinery. For a number of years, they stored their construction machines on a private outlot in our subdivision, and they've been storing construction machinery, including a dump truck, skid steer, and sometimes their trailer or other machinery in their front yard for years. We have woken many days to the sound of the dump truck being started or loading the skid steer onto the trailer to take to a job site, and we hear the dump truck's backup alarm and the unloading of the skid steer at the end of the workday. Even though the construction and contractors' services are specifically called out as prohibited home businesses per the village ordinance, they have been allowed to move forward with this permit. The second issue I want to address is the drainage violations. The permit application for the garage indicated that no fill would be required, yet many dump truck loads of fill have been added to the property, including filling in the drainage easement, which is intended to prevent flooding on our property. The homeowner signed an agreement with the village to resolve numerous code violations, including providing a drainage plan and restoring the drainage easement. Not only has the drainage easement not been restored, but we have submitted multiple formal requests for a copy of the drainage plan and have not received anything. between the 2,200 square foot garage and 4,500 square foot driveway addition, for which the village has inexplicably not required the homeowner to apply for a permit. That amounts to nearly 7,000 square feet of impermeable surface. And we feel we have a right to know where all that water and runoff is going to go. I'm asking for the board's support in addressing these issues. Please help us get answers as to why the homeowner is being allowed to build a third garage for a prohibited home business in a residential subdivision. And the other question is, how can we get information we need to understand where this runoff water is going to end up?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. President's comments. I just want to comment back on two items here. The first is when we're doing the budget process, those numbers are just budget items, budget numbers. We do go out to bid and we do try to get 2 or 3 bids depending on what it is. Sometimes it's not always possible to get 3 bids depending on what it is. As far as is the sign repairable? I am told it is not, which is why we are looking at a non-electronic sign. And then as far as the Schubert property, the board is not answering because that is with attorneys, and so we cannot. However, I would like a board member to offer to try to help sort this out and get some answers and help get this cleared up. So if anyone is willing to do that, that would be great. Please let me know. And then I'm going to allow Mr. Barheit to make one announcement under my president's comments. Go ahead.
Just a reminder, all the people in the Trever-Wilmot School District, you got your survey to fill it out and turn it in. And if you're in the district and didn't get one, why don't you call the school and see if you can get one and get it filled out. I think there's only a few more days left on it. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. Number 8, trustee comments, reports, and requests. 8.1, public safety liaison update.
Madam President and the board, just to give you a little bit of data on where we're at. I spoke with Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, and last September 2024, we had a total of 140 contracted calls for service and 516 other calls being where additional officers were brought in from outside of Salem Lakes for a total of 656 compared to September of this year. We had 310 contract calls, 524 other for a total of 834 for an increase of 21.4 or 21.3% increase from September of last year to September of this year. And from a fire perspective, our Salem Lakes fire calls here within the village, there were 14 with 89 rescue calls. And in Paddock Lake, there were 2 fire calls, 43 rescue calls. And some of these fire calls would be CO detectors, smoke detectors, automated alarm systems going off, so forth and so on. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. 8.2, Southeastern Wisconsin Fox River Commission update.
Nothing to report.
8.3, Lake District updates. We'll start with trustee Gant with Silver Lake Management District.
I did attend their meeting on the 16th of, anyway, they were talking about lake levels, the water quality, one of the biggest concern with the dam height is what's been in effect in the 50s. Their next meeting is December 17th. But the biggest thing they're looking at is the state is trying to get a solution on these wakeboards that are tearing these lakes up. So the state, and I'm assuming the DNR, is really trying to put something together for this thing, so. That's it.
Okay. Bolts Lake Management District and Camp and Center Lake Management District.
Holt's Lake held their annual meeting on October 9th. They approved their budget and their mill rate to drop about 25% this coming year. Their budget's about just under 30,000. The chemical treatments they did this last year did not work well at all. They are contemplating possibly some harvesting, mechanical harvesting in the future. They have applied for a Wisconsin Waterways grant to help to hire Sewer Pack to do an aquatic invasive species study. And once that's approved by the DNR, then they're available to apply for additional grants of numerous things. The Camp Center Lake Rehabilitation District operation is closed naturally for the year. The chemicals on Center Lake were in the channels primarily for curly leaf pondweed was really out of control in the channels this last year. And on the lake proper, it was for Eurasian water milfoil on both lakes. The chemicals did work well on Camp and Center, but the height of the water, it was a dry summer. That caused problems. Mechanical harvesting on Center had 115 loads, and that equates to about 230 ton of vegetation that was taken out of the lake. And on Camp Lake, it was 120 loads, so that's 240 tons that was removed and no longer as it rots, then it creates muck. So it's a benefit of one of the benefits of harvesting to get it out. That's it.
Okay. 8.4 EDC update.
Nothing special to report right now.
Okay. Library board update.
Randall is dropped out of the consortium for the library board. So now they haven't had a reorganization since Salem and Silver Lake put together. So we're gonna have to get that going. I talked to the administrator and then he's gonna have to contact library and see what we need to get done up there.
Okay.
Paddock Lake is still a member though, aren't they?
What?
Paddock Lake?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the only one that they've contacted me about. So far, everybody else is in that I know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could I make a comment with regard to that? The ironic thing is that in Kenosha County, everybody pays a library tax. And we have the community library, which was Paddock Lake, Randall, Silver Lake, Salem, and Twin Lakes. And Randall dropped out, but they'll still pay that tax, but it goes to the Kenosha library system. I don't know what the reasoning was that they dropped out, because we have a library in Twin Lakes and one here in Salem, but they're not saving the money is what I'm driving at by not belonging to our community library.
So essentially, they're just taking the budget item for the library off of their budget.
No, it's still on their budget. They have to collect it, but it goes to Kenosha,
Right.
Got it.
the county library.
Okay.
They still pay it.
Okay. All right, 8.6 Park Commission update. I can do it. I'm just gonna do high level. Okay. So events that the Park Commission is considering. In February, we always have the polka dance, but they are considering other options as that was originally to celebrate the merger. March is an Easter egg hunt. April will be the Spring Parks Tour, where the Parks Commission visit 6 to 8 parks and they provide input on a plan to move forward. June through August is Concerts in the Park that is in Silver Lake on Thursday evenings. In November, they will do their fall parks tours. August, we have Community Days, which is scheduled for August 8th next year. And then they're looking into an ice skating event And then in December, they will do a Riverview Santa visit. Some agenda items that they are looking into are the capital plan review, park impact fees, trail fund review, Runyard Park improvements, looking at park on Lotus Drive for naming. And then we are in the process as a village of moving our Facebook accounts to one main account. So the park Facebook page will be going away, but we will be working with staff on how to direct people to the main Salem Lakes page. All of the information will still be shared. This will help us when we are doing, with any public records requests, because we can still get them on Facebook. And as well as having one uniform voice for getting the information out. And then they're looking at implementing a tree planting schedule to replace non-desirable trees in the parks or to add to them. Okay, so then I will do number 8.7, future agenda requests.
Yes, Madam President, I have a couple agenda requests for consideration. First one would be we have an existing chicken keeping ordinance, and I'd like to see us potentially do some edits to that ordinance to make it less severely restrictive for residents to keep chickens.
I will not have a problem entertaining that, but I would like something in writing from you on what changes you would like to see, as well as I would like you to talk with Trustee Hopkins, because he had talked about roosters at one point, and that's been on the long list. So we could maybe incorporate the two.
Absolutely.
And then once you get that, we'll review that with staff and then discuss that as a board on whether or not we're going to put that as an agenda item. Okay.
Okay, and then the next one would be an accessory dwelling unit ordinance for the Village of Salem Lakes. As you know, there's a housing crisis across the United States of America, and we would not be blazing any trails with creating an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. We'd be at the tail end of the movement. There's a need for housing for in-laws and such. And the state is also in the middle of potentially creating a mandate that each municipality permitting agency would have to allow some form of accessory dwelling unit ordinance. I don't know exactly where that stands or what's happened in the last couple of days. But it's one of the least expensive ways to try and create housing. So I'd like to see us as a board visit that.
Okay, so that as well, if you want to do a little bit of homework, we would have to look at things such as lot sizes, setbacks, ADU overall size in comparison to the main structure, parking. How will we account for that via taxes? Does that cause any issues if the property were to be sold in the future, if it was then going to be considered a no, I'm drawing a blank.
Duplex?
A duplex, thank you. Because I understand that it's a little harder to get financing for that. So we need to look into maybe that and see, and then also where it would make sense in our community. Does that put a strain on our fire department or our sewer, capabilities? So if you want to look into all of that, I would also be interested to see if there's any other models that this has worked successfully for. As you know, we don't have street parking and a lot of our lots are very small and they barely have enough room to park cars for the structure that's there. So I don't think we could make it a blanket across the village. So keep that in mind. And then once you have some things together, we can take a look.
Sounds great.
Thanks. Okay, Number 9, Treasurer's Office, discussion and possible action on the following. 9.1, Resolution 2025.10-138, authorizing the issuance and sale of a $1.9 million general obligation promissory note, Series 2025A.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ariana Schmidt here with Ellers. We're going to be walking through this presentation tonight to go through the sale results of the general obligation promissory note. So we'll start on slide number 1 just to give a little background of how we got to this point today. So as you know, due to levy limits, the village is only able to raise your revenues collected by levies by a certain amount restricted by levy limits. So as a result, the village has been up against the wire in terms of how much you can levy for in terms of capital project funding. So as a result of this, the village has pursued an alternate option in which you seek proposals from local banks to issue a 1 year and a day general obligation promissory note that is then exempt from levy limits that allows you to levy after implementation of the note on the sale day for that $2 million note. So you issue the note this time of year, you authorize it prior to setting your levy so you can budget appropriately to be able to collect the amount of levy necessary to make that payment. And then sometime in 2026, you pay off the note in its entirety. So there is a 1 year term, so it minimizes the amount of interest that you have outstanding. One other note is that in September, while you all initially had discussed $2 million as the need for capital projects, it was reduced to $1.9 million. So that is the language that you will see forth here tonight. Turning to slide number 3. As a start of this, there was a term sheet developed that really outlined the key features that needed to be met in order for a bank to be able to bid on this. Initially is that the security is your general obligation. You are pledging the full taxing credit and faith and authority of the village to repay the loan with your taxing authority. We do have the maturity set at December 1st, 2026. However, it is callable earlier as of March 1st, 2026. So once you've collected the levy and you have all of the funds on hand, you can pay it off at any time after March 1st, but it must be paid off by no later than December 1st. If you do pay it off earlier in the year, there's less interest that will accrue, so it will result in some savings there as well. The other benefit to this is there is a fixed rate, so you know what your interest rate is at the time of sale, and there is no change in that is set in stone. Turning to slide number 4, talking a little bit more about the method of sale. So this is what we call a private placement. Because the note is only 1 year in term, a private placement is really the best way to ensure that you get a bid on the financing. So really what that means is that a bank will bid on the loan and offer to work with you to secure the loan. The bank will not be trading this at all. So they'll be securing it and not trading it like a municipal security. So different than had you gone to the open market where an underwriter bids on the issue and then trades it with investors. So this will be locally held by the local bank. So that the terms that we just outlined on the slide prior to that is what was compiled in a term sheet that was sent out to a variety of banks selected by the village. So turning to slide number 5, on October 15th is when that sale day activity occurred in which the term sheet was distributed to the banks that you see on this page here. On October 15th, Johnson Bank was the bank that bid on this. I believe that's also the bank in which your deposits are held. So that's pretty common, in which we see banks typically want a relationship with the municipality. So oftentimes the banks that you have deposits with are the banks that will bid on these issues. Turning to slide number 6, just to summarize what Johnson Bank has proposed, there is an interest rate of 3.7%, which is lower than our pre-sale estimate. The pre-sale estimate was about 4%, so came in lower than we had anticipated, but it did come with a bank fee, a one-time fee of $1,000. If you were to hold this loan until maturity on December 1st of 2026, the total interest that will have accrued is about $76,000. Again, if you prepay that earlier on March 1st, for example, your interest will only be $23,629. So about $50,000 less in savings by paying that off early if you have the funds available to do so. So in total, your total construction fund deposit is about $1.9 million, including the cost of issuance to actually take out this loan and interest earnings as we've discussed. So on slide number 7, just to summarize, the recommendation is that the village accept this proposal. This was the only bid that you received was from Johnson Bank. So this is the bid that you're looking to accept today. Again, the interest rate is reasonable compared to what we've seen in the market, being below the pre-sale estimate at 4%. The other thing to note here is that you do need to authorize approval for this sale, which is what the action tonight is, prior to setting your budget in order to be able to levy for this in 2026. So, one other item I'm going to point out is you have this sale day report right in front of you, which has all of the detail, more numerical values that I can get into detail on if you'd like. But one thing I'd like to comment on is the final page here, which is your tax impact. So this compares your current debt profile to where the debt profile of the village is upon issuance of this short-term note. So on the left-hand side, you see what your existing debt profile is today before issuing any additional debt. So in 2025, your net levy for debt service was $1.3 million. In 2026, you do have some debt falling off naturally. That brings that below $1 million. So because there is a dip in the amount of net levy for debt service, we're able to layer in a portion of this new debt for 2026, mitigating the amount of an increase in the tax levy to pay for this debt. On the right-hand side, you'll see in yellow there, that is the issuance of this short-term obligation, the $1.9 million general obligation promissory note that is before you tonight. And then moving further to the right, about halfway down the column, you'll see your new net levy for debt service. That jumps to about $2.9 million in 2026, because that incorporates not only the new $1.9 million that you'd be taking out for capital, but also incorporates your existing debt profile of about $990,000. So we take that new $2.9 million roughly, and your total tax rate for your debt service alone in 2026 becomes about $1.15. For illustration purposes only, just to show you what this would look like if the village would continue to do 1-year financings solely to fund your capital projects. We do have 2 columns built in that say future annual 1-year note. That par amount is increasing, just assuming cost of capital goes up and you'll need additional funds each year to fund your capital plan. But we do show that year over year through 2040, just so you can see what that would look like. And then if you move over to that new net levy for debt service column, you can see what the tax impact will be year over year. Really, what we try to focus on here is maintaining a level tax impact year over year, so you don't see a roller coaster where taxes are going up wildly one year and then dropping the next year. You want to see that impact level so taxpayers know what to expect, but also so that way you can fund your capital projects as needed so you can continue to execute those projects despite the levy limits that are in place. So all that to say, that is for illustration purposes only. The action item in front of you tonight is solely looking at this 2025 general obligation promissory note for $1.9 million. So I will open it up for any questions or comments.
I think we're okay with you. We'll just invite staff up. Yeah, no, sure.
All right.
Oh.
So when I'm looking at the impact application program, property development. So, this one, I think we got, right? So if we were to do it again next year, is that $104 on top of the $180?
Yeah, it's an additional $104. So that's the increase from the year prior. Yep.
Ariana, it's a new $104.
Yes.
So it's really only $24 more.
All right, so it's only
I'm sorry. Did I?
$24
Yep.
more? Okay, compared to this year or last?
Yeah, so each year that you see on here is a starting fresh. So in 2027, it's $104 that you're paying for that year's tax debt service.
Okay.
I
compared
apologize.
to-
That was
Okay,
confusing.
thank you, thank you. That's what I needed to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ariana. I guess I'll just maybe add a couple of comments to the whole concept of borrowing for a village the size of Salem Lakes. This isn't an uncommon occurrence for a municipality of this size to have an annual borrowing. I understand that there hasn't been borrowing here in the recent past. The town has had some borrowing historically, and there's been discussion about should the village borrow a larger amount and then knock off a bunch of projects? I'll just throw out a number, $10 million, for example, versus $2 million and pay that off over a longer period of time. Should they borrow that larger sum, knock out more projects on the CIP and then pay it off over a 10-year, 20-year period of time that a longer term borrowing would have? If that were the case, you would see a similar schedule. Ellers would do a great job for us and put together a similar schedule of total rate for debt service. And you'd probably see a similar kind of number because your period of time. And in this instance, when you're taking the increase from 60 cents to $1.15, which is the increase for 2026 with this $2 million borrowing, you can see a slight increase beyond that with this admittedly projected, purely hypothetical, like you learned, but it's also really good news for the village to continue at a level and potentially stepped up level of borrowing from a standpoint that you have a 30-year capital improvement plan and significant amount of infrastructure to maintain within this village of this size. Road infrastructure, water sewer infrastructure, buildings. Those are all items that need to be maintained over time. And this positions you well as a municipality, should the village choose to continue to borrow on an annual basis, there won't be, after this year, there won't be a significant increase. So that column fourth from the end is in my opinion, really solid news and should not be alarming news for the village of Salem Lakes and or for a village of the size that you guys are with the amount of infrastructure and the sheer number of miles of roadway that you need to maintain over time. So I just wanted to share that, President Bucher. If there's any other questions that I can attempt to answer, I'm happy to do so as well.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, yes, I would need a motion. Mhm. If
I'll make
any-
a motion to approve resolution 2025 -10-138, authorizing the issuance and sale of $1.9 million in general obligatory promissory note series 2025A.
Okay, I will second that. I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Trustee Barheit,
Much as I hate to do this, see this time that we can do anything but it. And I'm hoping that the staff looks at our budget that we budgeted for regular, say, constantly, hopefully get some savings. So we don't have to do so much in the future. Like I said, I'm not smart enough to do it any other way, but I have to vote yes on this.
Trustee Brooks,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
No.
trustee Faber, trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Gant.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Number 10, planning and zoning, discussion and possible action on the following items. 10.1, request to contract with Von Briesen to rewrite zoning and land division ordinance not to exceed $80,000.
For that. Not sure we knew who was going to cover this one. In front of you is the proposal from Van Briesen. They were selected because they can bring the legal aspect and the planning aspect all together under one firm, as opposed to if we use a different firm like Foth, we would be having the additional legal expenses for whoever our attorney would be at the time to review it. Von Briesen brings a very full package. They have a PR portion of it too, where they can get public information out there, public outreach. They would actually run the public informational meetings for us. And the recommendation is for approval of the contract with Von Briesen for $80,000. We have budgeted $65,000 for zoning updates in 2025 and another $50,000 for strategic planning, which we will not be doing. So the money is in the 2025 budget. We would obviously have to roll a good portion of that over in the 2026.
Okay.
And this, the proposal also includes the town hamlet overlay districts, which we've been struggling with for probably 8 years now, I think. It's a very comprehensive plan for the little hamlets that we have, Wilmot, Salem, Camp Lake. We'd like to get that done, fix the issues that we know we have in the zoning code and make the zoning code more friendly for not only developers, but applicants, village staff, and the public, make it easier to work with and understand. So the recommendation tonight is for approval of the contract with Von Briesen.
I'll make a motion to approve Von Briesen for the rewrite of the zoning and land division ordinance not to exceed $80,000.
I'll second.
I'd like to have some discussion.
We absolutely can have some discussion.
So I guess my first one is, and unless I missed it, the last time this came up, we talked about how the budget item was 65,000, not mistaken. The quote's 80,000. And so the proper procedure as per the state of Wisconsin is to first amend your budget and then approve. And so that's probably how the agenda should have been written tonight, unless I'm missing something.
You can also do a line item adjustment. Am I correct? Yeah.
That's actually not what I got from the League of Municipalities when I talked with Ryan, the legal division. Supposed to be actual motion by the board. And maybe I'm mistaken, but I brought this up last time and then it's on the agenda and nobody contacted me to tell me about the line item. Then I could check into that and see if I'm somehow mistaken.
I say vote on this and then next board meeting, we can vote on the line item adjustment because it's not going to be spent.
It's from procedurally, it's supposed to be adjusted and then voted.
Can you show me that, please?
I don't have it handy.
Because everything we've done in the past. The
Is
last
wrong.
7 years I've been on this board, we've always done line item adjustments after we voted on an item.
And it's like, so I call League of Municipalities who's available to each and every one of us and had that discussion.
What did they reference that?
They reference that you are supposed to make the amendment.
No.
You can be the same
What
meeting.
state statute is someone I'm asking?
I was not ready to answer questions. Like I said, that when nobody's contacted me before tonight, so I don't have the specific information that you're asking me in this moment, but had somebody let me know, we could have.
I do have a question though on this. How involved is our citizens and our EDC is going to be on this?
So the last time we talked about this, we were told that the EDC, the Plan Commission, and the board would all be involved in this, as well as staff, and that they would do public sessions to get input from the public. They assemble all of that, and then we can take all of that into account when we do it. So I think Jay's looking into your request, Pete. Angela, you were at the meeting with Von Briesen, and I know the last time this came up, you were going to talk a little bit to it, and then we didn't at that time. Do you want to have any input into anything on here?
Feel I'm put on the spot now and I'm
Sorry,
prepared.
I'm trying to buy some time so Jay can look.
That's okay. I wish that I could say something about it, but I just can't even recollect what it was now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I just found the timeline that's in the Von Briesen proposal, time schedule. It talks about, to answer some of Billy's questions regarding the involvement, that there's a public outreach deliverable, public outreach marketing items, there's visual media, banners, flyers, website created, dedicated portal page, so a dedicated web page within the Village of Salem Lakes page. In month 2, there's a community visioning session, targeted background research, meet with village staff to discuss the visioning session outcomes. And then there's feedback that's compiled from that. So there's definitely throughout the 18-month process, several opportunities that go. That's in your packet starting on page 14, if you're looking at it as well. Regarding the specific question about the spending of the 80,000 when you have 65,000 budgeted, I'm not an attorney. I don't claim to be one. I'm not surprised to hear that the league might have suggested that a ideal state, and I'm not putting words in Peter's mouth, but if there was an ideal state of process versus a specific question that was asked back from Bill, legal process of whether or not you can take action on this item. Again, I'm not an attorney. My experience would tell me that you can take action on the item. You can overspend in any one line item or any one budget that happens over time. If there's significant snowplow event in the winter months and Brad's team is out plowing, they might overspend their overtime budget, or they might overspend their salt budget. But as long as the village itself has funds available to it, and in this instance, you do with this other line item, there is an opportunity to correct in a future subsequent meeting to transfer those dollars formally from the strategic planning account. And I'm not even sure what account it is. It might be in the same two different line items. Okay.
So this is in the budget, right? When we
Both of
discussed
them are
the
budgeted
budget,
in 2025, so you have the funds available to you.
but wasn't it in the 26 budget too? The line item?
For either of these two, no.
It was not?
No.
We did not propose new dollar amounts for 2026 because we anticipated either utilizing the 2025 dollar amounts for this project and or to carry them over to 2026. So we did not propose to budget new dollar amounts. We were going to carry these dollar amounts over to 26.
Okay.
What did we have budgeted for 2025 then?
65,000 for the zoning update and 50,000 for the strategic plan. 115 total, and this is 80,000 expenditure.
And that puts it all together into one.
I mean, I'm just adding the two together, simple math wise, divide by, or add together and subtract 80, you have 35 remaining within the 2025 budget.
Yeah, and we decided not to do the strategic plan,
Understood.
right? Are there any other comments or questions?
So if we approve this at our next meeting, we just have to make an adjustment in our budget.
Right.
It could be the same meeting. It just has to be prior to.
Or we can vote on it tonight and do a line item adjustment at the next board meeting.
I think
The
would be-
funds are available this year.
So I think it comes down to like what we publicly noticed. Because then following this procedure is a 15-day notice to the public that we did the amendment, which obviously comes afterwards, but there's a very specific procedure for this.
Yeah, so it would have to be the second meeting.
But it is all budgeted, correct?
It is. There's a total between the strategic plan and the zoning of 135,000. We decided not to go forward with the strategic plan. We tabled that.
There's also another component to this that 2/3 of the board have to vote to do it. So that's another reason why it would be in advance. That's for any item in a budget when you're making an amendment.
So Pete is correct in a sense that it does take a 2/3 vote. However, yes, a Wisconsin Village Board can vote on the item and make a line item budget adjustment. So we can do one and the same, the way this is written.
And
But it requires a 2/3 vote.
so we can do this tonight and then do a budget adjustment at a future meeting.
Well, no, it would have to be the budget adjustment is pre.
But why would you do a budget adjustment if you haven't voted to actually do it? That doesn't make sense to me. To me,
Well,
you would vote to do it and then you do the budget.
My suggestion would be to not and to look up, and make sure we're doing proper procedure. But if you want to have the discussion to do otherwise, then you would do it in advance. Because if you don't have the money, you shouldn't be voting for the item. So that's where the logic comes from.
According to Wisconsin statute 65.90, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay,
That's
and-
what I asked you for earlier.
right, but it's probably a little bit more to the two sentences you read, I'm thinking. And it would always be money available first and then awarding second.
No, this is voting on the item and then making the line item budget adjustment.
No?
Can we table this and correct this by next meeting? Is that a possibility? I mean, are we in a hurry? We already have a motion second.
We do.
In our, the way it's worded, it says request
Request,
contract.
right, not contract. So the next one we would do is the budget amendment and then to contract with them. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna take it to a vote. Trustee Gant,
Yes.
trustee Hopkins.
Yes.
Trustee Faber,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
No,
trustee Brooks.
Yes.
Trustee Barheit,
It's gonna be inevitable. I'm gonna go no for right this time.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries 5-2.
So at the next meeting, we would approve the contract and the budget adjustment?
Yes.
Because this is simply the request.
Yeah. Okay, number 11, clerk's office, 11.1, approval of minutes from the village board meeting held on August 18th, 2025. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Approval of minutes from the village board meeting on October 7th, 2025. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Number 12, human resources, discussion and possible action on the following. 12.1, new staff introductions.
Public Works did hire a new highway department employee. His name is Jimmy Valina. He's here this evening. Stand up. And that's all I got for human resources.
Okay, great. Number 13, Public Works, discussion and possible action on the following. 13.1, final payment request number 4 from Pan and Dolan Inc. in the amount of $124,545.26 for the 2025 Street and Utilities Improvements Program.
In front of you is the final project payment request number 4 in the amount of $124,545.26. The contractor and their subcontractors performed the following work on 294th Avenue. They put stone down in the shoulders and finished the driveways. And the road and crack sealing was performed at various locations throughout the village. I think there was probably 5-6 different subdivisions. So my recommendation is for approval, and this is the final closeout payment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, number 14, administration, discussion and possible action on the following items. 14.1, administrator recruitment update. So I did have a call today. This morning on our candidates. We did just a run through of who's applied. I did select Pete and Angela to help with the screening of those. And then Jay is going to kind of give an update as to how that process will work.
Thanks, President Bucher. Yes, I always had a chance to jump on a call with my business partner, Jess, and President Bucher this morning to give a brief update on the recruitment to date. And I'm prepared to share that with all of you. I think before I do that regarding the specifics of this recruitment, I just maybe want to talk a little bit about professional administration, village administrator, village manager. Those positions are sometimes used interchangeably. Those titles are used interchangeably. There are very few managers in Wisconsin. There are quite a few managers throughout the country. They both essentially do the same duties. In some instance, the managers have more authority. In the administrator role, there's a little less authority granted to the administrator role, and more of the authority regarding hiring, firing is maintained by the elected body. Regardless of whether it's a manager or an administrator, and you'll hear those terms used interchangeably. So that's why I spend a minute on that topic. The village administrator is the chief appointed or chief administrative officer of the organization. And this is a sizable organization with a sizable budget and a large population to care for. And we've just recently talked about, and you borrowed some money to maintain the infrastructure within this organization. That individual is charged with carrying out the wishes of the chief elected body. The chief elected officer is President Bucher, and the board is the chief elected body for the village of Salem Lakes. Not telling you anything you don't know, but just talking through maybe the differences of it and the importance of a village administrator position. Administrators don't just fall out of the sky and land in a seat. They typically spend a bit of time preparing. Most administrators will have a master's in public administration or a master's in planning. Some come from a path of community development. Some come from a path of fire chief, police chief. That's not super uncommon. Finance is another path. A village clerk is a path to local government management. Most of them have spent a bit of a life's work preparing for that role. And there are the occasion of somebody fresh out of college that ends up in a manager role or an administrator role, but that's more rare. The typical path is to start out as an analyst, maybe an employee within a respective department, and then progress your way to department head, maybe an assistant manager, assistant administrator, and then ultimately the city administrator role, village administrator role. They are many things to an organization. They're not certainly the end all be all, but they are the tip of a fair amount of spears when it comes to budget and departments, overseeing employees. In this instance, the village board only has a few employees that report to them, the village manager being one of them. The village manager has other employees that report to that position, many employees within the organization that report up through. So it's certainly, again, it's an important role for an organization. It's not the end all be all, but it is a role that comes with experience in most instances. And I think when I start to talk through the process that we took for your recruitment and the individual's experience that we were able to recruit, speak to that as well. And maybe if there aren't any general questions about administration, village administrator, I'll just jump into the recruitment. We originally posted the position on September 18th. And we posted it on the city county managers site, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities site, the International City County Manager site. So it was a nationwide search, technically an international search, but we didn't receive any international applicants. Definitely some applicants throughout the country, but not from outside of the United States. And then within our LinkedIn personal and professional innovative public advisor site, we have 7,000 plus connections, followers on LinkedIn, and utilize that. And there's a promotion tool within LinkedIn where you can put some money behind the promotion, and then it gets in front of more individuals, more people that are connected by way of LinkedIn. We did design a professional announcement. If you go to the innovative public advisors website and or the Salem Lakes website, there's a link to this position. It's a landing page within our website that's dedicated to the village of Salem Lakes and for the recruitment of this position. There's a position description and an impressive position profile that really represents all the great things about Salem Lakes in a really positive light. Many positives, many advantages of working here in Salem Lakes, and in my opinion, a really bright future for somebody to come into this role. We promoted it on Facebook and LinkedIn, as I mentioned. And then we also recruited individuals that my partner and I thought would be a good fit just by reaching out. We have lots of connections throughout the state as far as individuals that we think might have been a good fit. We did receive 19 applications in total, several from throughout the country and Wisconsin and Illinois. 16 of those 19 applicants had at least one master's degree and or a doctorate degree, and a few had multiple master's degree. Again, not uncommon for this. If you're a planning director and you've obtained a master's in urban planning throughout your career, you might later in your career pursue a master's in public administration. So that's how individuals sometimes end up with multiple master's degrees that are coming to you. So again, a really successful recruitment. President Bucher already mentioned like the next steps. We've had conversations throughout the way. We did do an assessment of the leadership team and the village board, and received back feedback on what kind of experience and skill set you were looking for in your next administrator. We utilize that information to help us cross-reference against who has applied and to encourage some people to apply. So there's a subset of the village board that's been created to take the next step in the process. And then there will be an interview date scheduled beyond that. we'll work closely with the village board to make sure that you get that process nailed down as soon as possible and have your next full-time village administrator in place. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Jay, I got a question for you. We went through this once before, not too long ago. And when you start looking into the background of all these candidates, what specifically areas are you looking at? Do you look at social media? Do you look at news articles and this sort of thing? Because it appears that one got through last time and was caught late in the game. And I would hate to see that happen again.
Yeah, I'll speak to that in some detail. The life expectancy of a village administrator in a role like this is in Wisconsin 5 to 7 years. In some states, 3 to 5 years, and that's a reflection of the beginning part of our conversation. Is that this is tough work. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's also work that is sometimes met with opposition and work that's met with advancement. So an individual looking to advance at some point in their career from a certain size community to potentially a larger community, that creates some of the turnover. Some of the tough work kind of scenario creates some of that turnover within the administrator world. And then I would say just natural occurrences. Talk to a city clerk that lived through COVID-19 and the elections of 2020. There's some pretty tough stuff that went on at that time, and those kind of impacts have their role on that lifespan. And obviously I mean lifespan, I mean work lifespan within an organization. Should be clear about that. About 5 to 7 years. What that means is some of the applicants that you're going to receive are folks that have been through some transition within their career. There's actually a members in transition part of WCMA and ICMA. They call it MIT. It's individuals that are between jobs or looking for a job or have been removed from a job or recently left a job. Those individuals, there's a network and a category of MIT, and it just means that they're in transition. Again, not uncommon in this work. As far as our role in that reference check, yes, we'll go through the items available to us, and then if there's to be a further professional police criminal background check, that's something that the sheriff's department would do on your behalf, and we would encourage that you do that at a higher level than what we're able to do based on references and Google searches and CCAP and the like. But we'll present of the applicants that that we're working through the hiring team to move forward with. We'll present you with the information that we know to date. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Bless you. Thank you, President Beaker.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Please turn your mics off.